If you listen closely, you can still hear the echoes of 5,000 plus strong celebrating a Broncos come-from-behind win here last Sunday. But this stadium stays quiet this week as the Broncos head to Atlanta for the first of 2 games on the road. Welcome in to Broncos Weekend, everybody. I'm Matt Boyer alongside Alexis Perry and the Hall of Famer Steve Atwater. Guys, a bit of a strange week. The Falcons are coming off 10 days rest. The Broncos, though, 2 days off, Monday and Tuesday. The Broncos closed their facility on Wednesday. They canceled practice. Only players coming into rehab after the announcement of Joe Ellis and John Elway testing positive for COVID-19. We wish them all the best in their recovery. Absolutely. But, Steve, to you first, the Broncos not having that Wednesday practice. The age-old question in this time of COVID-19, is practice overrated, and how much does that impact the Broncos this week?
No, practice is not overrated. I hate that they missed that practice because, it's so important to continue what this team started in the fourth quarter of that last game. And I think that, hey, we're on the verge of something special. And to miss that practice, I think, missed an opportunity to continue that momentum that we started there. Now, on the flip side of it, hopefully the guys are rested and they spent some of that time in their playbooks, getting nuance of the offense and the defense down.
Broncos back onto the field on Thursday, Alexis. But this upcoming game, it's a big one. Broncos could go 3-1 in the second quarter, as we like to call it, of the season, the second 4 games here. So how important is this game looking forward to playoffs and the second half of the season?
Well, I think when you're on the outside of the playoff picture, every game is important. But I think at the end of this week, the Broncos have the opportunity to find themselves at 500 for the first time since week 13 of 2018. And suddenly, thanks to that 14-team expanded playoff picture, we can actually start talking about a push for the playoffs. Now, this game on Sunday, it is not a division game. It is not a conference game at that. But I think historically speaking, in terms of the record, when you look at a 4-4 team, historically, those teams 35% just about make the playoffs. A 3-5 team, that number drops down to about 9%. So really a win this week could be the difference between staying in the hunt or just kind of petering out of the conversation altogether. So it's a really big game. The second half of the Broncos schedule is not going to get any easier. You have the Saints and Bills coming up, as well as a trip to Arrowhead to face the defending Super Bowl champs. So it's got to start this week up against the Atlanta Falcons, which they're a team. Their record, I don't think, is very indicative of how good they actually are.
You mentioned it. The Broncos need a win this week if they're just looking ahead to some of those opponents. And if they're going to get a win, they need a big performance from their quarterback, Drew Lock, as we take a look at some of the statistics. The quarterback matchup, Matt Ryan against Drew Lock. Alexis, how far can the Chargers' momentum carry Lock? Because obviously 3 touchdowns last week, all of them coming in the fourth quarter. So how much does Drew need to fix? How much can he build on the momentum he already has?
Well, I think in terms of momentum, I think what Steve said earlier is a really good point. I think that Wednesday practice would have really helped to kind of continue that momentum. But a huge takeaway from Sunday's game is the confidence that not only he has in himself, as in Drew Lock, but this entire team has in him. So now, if they're down by, 3 scores at the half, it's not this, whoa me, oh, here we go again kind of mentality. Now it's, hey, we can do this. We can come back from this because we have done it before. So I think that mentality shift for a team this young, this early, is actually really huge. Now, from what we saw from Drew Lock on the field on Sunday, he did so many things well in that fourth quarter. He was truly mesmerizing. His mechanics were nearly perfect. His pocket presence was perfect. And on top of that, I think for the first time we saw Drew Lock really using his eyes to look off defenders. That's something that we've talked about that we really wanted to see, and he did that. So he needs to continue to build on that and trust in his rookie wide receivers, trust in Pat Shurmur's play calling, and just continue to build. I think they have a really good chance to do that this week.
Steve, on the flip side, you've got Matt Ryan, Matty Ice.
Ice.
Little inconsistent, though, this year. He's been up and down. Has a couple of 4 touchdown performances, but he's got a couple of no touchdown performances. So what do you see from Matt Ryan so far this year? Can the Broncos get a bit of a pass rush going on him?
Yeah, well, Matt Ryan, he's playing really good football. Their offense actually overall is playing pretty well. They got Julio Jones, they got Calvin Ridley, Russell Gage, that third wide receiver, is doing a nice job. And then they got Hayden Hurst at tight end. They have an explosive group on that offensive side of the ball. The problem has been on the defensive side of the ball. How do you stop them? Yes, you like to get a pass rush on them, but if you do that, now you risk having your corners man-to-man with elite receivers. I don't want to see that. When the Green Bay Packers played them, the way they defended them is using the four-man rush, and they were able to get home, get pressure on them, and keep more guys back to cover the wide receivers. And I think that'll be the recipe that we'll have to use if we're going to have success against the Falcons.
You mentioned the wide receivers. That's our next matchup that we're going to take a look at. And this one, Jerry Jeudy and Calvin Ridley. So Ridley has not practiced this week on Wednesday and Thursday. Questionable right now to see if he plays on Sunday. However, this kind of a look into the future, Alexis, because Ridley and Jerry Jeudy on opposite sidelines, they grew up together, childhood friends. They were at Alabama together, and now they find themselves both first-round NFL draft picks. Ridley already on his way to becoming a star in this league. Jeudy aiming for that. So whenever
where
Jeudy
Julio
gets
Jones go?
Well, we'll get to him in a second. Don't you worry, he's coming. When we talk about Ridley, though, a lot of times Jerry Jeudy gets comped to Ridley. So is that a good comparison in your mind, and is that kind of projecting things forward for him?
Yeah, I think they are similar in size and talent, but I actually think that Jerry Jeudy will be better than Calvin Ridley. I think Jerry Jeudy, when he's about 80%, that is when he's Calvin Ridley. But I think Jerry Jeudy at 100% is Odell Beckham Jr. I think he is faster than Calvin Ridley. His route running ability is better. His upside is greater. I can't wait to see the 100% version of Jerry Jeudy. We have not seen that yet, but like we know, he's getting more comfortable in Pat Shurmur's offense. He's getting more confident. He's been a more vocal leader, especially with Cortland Sutton and Tim Patrick out of the lineup. So if he continues to build on that confidence, I think we are going to see, especially by year 3, a superstar. You mentioned Calvin Ridley's a star. Jerry Jeudy will be a superstar.
Steve? All right, now we can talk about Julio Jones, okay?
Have at it.
He went to Alabama, too.
Well, Steve, Julio Jones.
He's in the category.
Well, like Ridley, and then we got
He's in a league of his own.
We got Julio Jones. So this might be one of the best wide receiver duos in the league with Ridley and Jones when they're both healthy. So as a defensive guy, when you look at those two, how do you defend those guys? What do they do well?
As a safety, I would have no clue how to defend them.
Okay.
So what I did, I went and looked up, hey, man, how do guys defend them? I saw video of Champ Bailey describing how he would defend Julio Jones. Number one, Julio Jones is big. He's 6'3", 215, 220 pounds, big, strong guy. He said he would get in front of him, not necessarily try to jam because he'll knock your hands away and then he'll be by you in a minute. He would focus on staying in front of him and get his hands on him if he can, but make sure that he keeps a low base with it. And Richard Sherman, another guy, says that, okay, Julio Jones, we know that every single play that he plays, he's going to be giving it 110%. Mm-hmm. You got to match that intensity because if you don't, if you take off one play, he's going to take advantage of you. So we got to go out there and play him hard, 100% of the plays that we play against him, and hey, we could have some success.
A.J. Boye in the concussion protocol this week for the Broncos. His status all week kind of been up in the air, so that could mean Michael Ojemudia on a guy like Calvin Ridley or Julio Jones. That's tough.
That's why I like zone coverage.
Fair enough. Steve's playing some zone this week.